Gonzalo Lira is a political commentator in Ukraine who was detained May 1st by the SBU for spreading wartime propaganda, essentially for not supporting Ukraine and blaming the actions of the United States for escalating the war with Russia. He's facing 6 to 8 years for speaking his mind. That is his only crime. His father, Gonzalo Lira Sr., appeared on this show a couple of weeks ago to give us updates on his condition. He's asked to come back on the show because he has more he'd like to say. Mr. Gonzalo Lira, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kim, for having me for the second time. I'm not doing very well, obviously. Today marks the 53rd day of his detention. And the worst of it all, Kim, is that the U.S. government hasn't done a thing in order to give us information as to the whereabouts of Gonzalo. He's totally incommunicado. Nobody knows where he is. We have used all our channels to help us. The government of Chile, I even wrote President Biden, a waste of time, by the way. And if you permit me, I have a written statement that I would like to make, if that is possible in your show.
Yes, of course. Go ahead.
One of the most important tasks of the Department of State, as expressed in written declarations throughout every embassy of the United States in the world, the statement follows. One of the most important tasks of the Department of State and of the U.S. embassies and consulates abroad is to provide assistance to U.S. citizens incarcerated abroad. We will insist on prompt access to an arrested U.S. citizen, provide a list of attorneys, offer to contact the arrested U.S. citizen, family, or friends, visit on a regular basis, and keep the Department of State informed. As of yesterday, the Department of State, on their briefing at 1:36 p.m. Washington time, Mr. Patel, the spokesman for the for the Department of State, was asked about Gonzalo Lira, and his answer was pathetic. No information. Gonzalo is incommunicado. The Department of State has no answer if you question them about a U.S.-born citizen imprisoned overseas. Not because he's a criminal. He's not a thief. I mean, this is strictly political stuff. This declaration is a set of empty words, what the U.S. Embassy writes in every embassy in the world. And they're not being practiced, at least in this case. America, why have you turned to be so different from what you were generations ago? America was the country that fought 2 world wars to help Europe avoid being ruled by dictators. America, the land of freedom, the land of opportunity and equality. America gave us leaders to the world, righteous leaders such as Roosevelt, Truman, Eisenhower. Where are they today? Eisenhower left us with his worry of the growing military industry. America has changed from the big brother that comes to your help when a country is in need of help and promoted world wars throughout the planet. Today's leaders cannot be compared, neither in political, nor in decency, morality, nor rectitude traits with their forebears. I am deeply worried as to the future of this country that I have always loved. Behind my son's arrest, I strongly suspect Biden is behind due to two reasons. The first reason, Gonzalo was kidnapped last year in Kharkiv on the 15th of April and released by the SBU agents after one full week, holding his passport, by the way. Following Gonzalo's arrest, he continued criticizing Zelensky, the war information, the SBU method with the opposition. They torture, they disappear, they kill them. He did not change his dialogue with the followers during the past 12 months. Two, but suddenly Gonzalo changes the dialogue to his followers. And he publishes a video last April 27 called Joe Biden Will Be Removed. In this video, he strongly opposes Biden's policies. Old man Biden as an elderly man that spends more time resting than doing his job. In addition, he mentioned his money problems and the investigation presently carried out. Gonzalo expressed his opinion of Biden as he makes a fool of himself every time he goes public because he is an old, elderly, decrepit man. He also called Kamala Harris an idiot and a total stupid person. That is his right to give his opinion, right or wrong. On May the 1st, 4 days after publishing this video, the sinister SBU arrests him in his apartment. Why didn't the SBU arrest him before? Because it's being charged by Article 436-2, where he's saying the truth of the war, not as Western journalists are expressing. He lives in Ukraine. Hope he's still alive. And I remember one video in the street, and you could hear bullets in Kharkiv, and he was out on the street reporting. Here's one news. This is last night, my daughter learned that the Chilean honorary consul in Ukraine, they do not have an embassy, they have an honorary consul, had informed that Gonzalo will stand trial next Monday, the 26th. I don't know whether to believe this information. All I can say is that if it is true, the US government will look very bad. They are not aware of this, by the way. They have done nothing to alleviate Gonzalo, like Pontius Pilate. They have just washed their hands. The right and the freedom of expression is throughout the world if you want to be part of the civilized world. Zelensky is not a civilized world, but the USA is 100% behind that man who is a dictator in his country. The US used to fight dictatorships. Now they condone, not only condone, but help them out. Him. I just wanted to say this. And the reason I'm saying it, I live in Chile. Freedom of speech is respected in this country.
Well, you bring up a really great point that why wasn't he arrested prior to this point if the crime that they're claiming he committed was essentially spreading wartime propaganda, being not pro-Ukraine, being critical of the Ukrainian government, critical of the war, critical of the United States escalation with Russia. And that's what Gonzalo did, is he just spoke his mind. And you're right, why did they wait so long if that's the crime, and it's been a crime for a while in Ukraine since the beginning of this war? Why now? Why arrest him now? And you're pointing out that you believe it's because he was critical, he was criticizing the U.S. government as well, and that this just was the final straw, the crackdown on him.
I strongly believe so, Kim. And that is using the power of the presidency for other purposes. He cannot persecute my son. He's a U.S. citizen. Can you imagine if we had presidencies? Well, unfortunately, we had for a while Mr. Nixon using, IRS to fight his opponents. But my goodness, where are we going to? This is terrible.
Yeah.
What are they thinking? Listen, honestly, if you look at the world, the U.S. has gotten involved in every major small wars. What are they doing? Are they really converting themselves to what Eisenhower suspected? A producer of arms that have to sell them somewhere? This is outrageous. I went to study as a 19-year-old to the USA. I did all my college years in the States, postgraduate degrees. I lived very comfortable. I always felt like I belonged to the US. I knew English from the very beginning because I studied school in England. But nevertheless, I grew fond and I loved the USA. I love the people. They're friendly. It's nice to live there. But the governments, they are turning out to be the worst governments. And they have the power of the first country in the world. It's dangerous, very dangerous to have people like Biden, who is being right now investigated. Where are we going to?
So you're saying the State Department, the embassies, none of them have done anything to help Gonzalo, who is sitting in jail, facing 6 to 8 years for speaking. That's all this is. This is a thought crime. He committed a thought crime, and they're doing nothing about it.
The worst of it all, Kim, is that in their statement, in every embassy in the world, you may read it, they provide an attorney to defend, the imprisoned American citizen. They haven't done anything with my son Gonzalo. As a matter of fact, he was provided an attorney by the jailers. Can you imagine the kangaroo court if it's true what they told the Chilean honorary consul in Ukraine, in Kiev? It's unbelievable. It's like a nightmare.
Yeah.
How can the U.S. stay behind and not doing anything? All they did, in honesty, and I'll name it, Jeremiah Little. He's the chief in the U.S. Embassy in Kiev, in charge of all the American citizens that have been imprisoned, that he told my daughter that he had held a video conference with Gonzalo. Only a video conference. And very short, because he claimed that we didn't have very good communication. Well, Kim, I have my doubts about that, Mr. Little, because never again we've heard him contacting Gonzalo. Where are the statements that the embassy publishes around the world?
Yeah. In the minimum, what we do know is that Ukraine is under the control of the United States. I mean, pretty much anything the United States does, Ukraine is going to do. So why is the United States not pressuring Ukraine to let go of an American citizen whose only crime was speaking his mind? That should be, at the bare minimum, they should say, look, we're helping you supposedly fight for democracy and freedom and all of these things that we claim that we're helping you with to battle Russia, and they're the fascists and we're the free people, right? Well, put your money where your mouth is and actually prove it by pressuring them to release somebody whose only crime was speaking. That would be, at the minimum, it seems like what the United States should be doing. And it would be so simple, and you know that they would let him go because Ukraine's going to do anything the United States says.
Listen, a phone call. In 5 minutes, Gonzalo is out of that jail. If he's still alive, by the way.
Yeah.
I hope but I don't know if it's better for him to die or suffer the tortures that they have inflicted, I'm sure, on him, because that's the kind of people they are. I mean, they have been proved. Gonzalo published a list of 12 Ukrainian opposition leaders, including a mayor for a medium-sized city, that were killed by the SBU. They were opponents of Zelensky. I mean, how can the U.S. support a dictator like that, for crying out loud? It's unbearable. I mean, I'm sorry, Kim. I had the flu last week. But
well, let's hope that he's alive, and let's hope that he's okay, and that they're not torturing him, that they're just holding him, even though that is bad enough to hold somebody for speaking their minds. Let's just hope that he's okay. And hopefully we find out more Monday if he does appear in court. If that's when this is supposed to be, then hopefully we learn more Monday. But I know this is a very difficult time for you to be going through this, the stress, the worry. I can only imagine. Our hearts are definitely with you. We're definitely thinking about Gonzalo. We're definitely wanting to continue keeping him in the spotlight, keeping the pressure on that political commentators, journalists, bloggers, opinion people should not be jailed for thought crimes in this country or in any country, and certainly not another country that we're supporting. So, Mr. Lira, thank you for coming back on and giving us your statement on that. And we'll stay in touch with you to find out if there's any more updates as we go on with his condition and his imprisonment.
I will.
Thank you.
I will keep you posted. And once again, thank you so much to you and your team. And may God keep my poor son.
Yes.
Thank you again.